There is no American veteran who's a parent right now who isn't asking themselves the question of whether or not they want to encourage their child to go into uniformed service.
Right.
Because the veterans, more than anybody else, understand what it's like to actually raise your hand and volunteer to serve your country and then not be used for what you think is the best interest of the country.
Yeah.
To go off and do something that's wasteful or silly. Like, think about the veterans who served in Afghanistan only to then watch Afghanistan fall.
Apart, yeah.
Right? The veterans who served in Vietnam who then saw the same thing happen in Vietnam.
Yeah.
And we've got veterans who have served now in Yemen and served in Syria and served in multiple conflict zones all over the world.
Yeah.
Right? And they're watching now and they're wondering now, do I want to encourage this continued family legacy of service? Because it's not what it used to be.
Yeah. And I know your stepdad was a Vietnam vet and he volunteered. I mean, he was very young from what I understand, but he volunteered to go twice in and be a tunnel rat, right?
A tunnel rat in Vietnam, yeah.
So did he, and then your mom served in the Air Force as well?
Every aunt, every uncle I had served in the military.
All served. And so what was the conversation like in your house as far as, you know, was there support? Like, did they talk about it? You know, like, did you grow up with the idea that, like, you know, it's great to serve, I'm going to serve too?
It was a practical decision for us. Like, my dad saw some of the nastiest stuff in Vietnam.
Yeah.
But I also think he wasn't necessarily in the right mental place. He, just like you said, he was young. He was one of those kids who went off to war, and who knows what he thought he was going to see, but what he actually saw was not that. I still remember, like, to this day, clearly, a Memorial Day event happening on TV when I was probably 13 years old, and my dad was watching it on television and then walked to the bathroom on the same level that we were in, locked himself in. I thought he was using the bathroom, and then I just heard him sobbing. Like, the loud sort of adult sobbing that when you're a kid, it's like mind-boggling.
Yeah.
And I realized on that day that he carries that with him all the time.
Yeah.
Right? And he's just one of tens of thousands of veterans who go through that experience. And now when you are somebody who has lived through that and you have your children of your own, you're asking yourself the question, like, do I want to encourage them to go down that road and do the same thing? My family didn't encourage me to be a soldier to serve our country. They encouraged me to be a soldier to find opportunity to get out of rural Pennsylvania because they were still too poor. They weren't going to be able to afford college for me. They weren't going to be able to do much of anything for me, right? And my stepdad was one of those old school guys because he was like 13 years older than my mom. Who was just like, a man's got to be a man and you got to get out there and build your manhood, right? So that was very much his mentality. And the way to do that was either get a job and get the hell out of my house or join the military and get the hell out of my house. And a big part of why I joined the military was to try to win my dad's respect, which never really happened because that's not what he cared about. He really just wanted me to get out and, like, be a man. He didn't necessarily care whether I worked or enlisted or something else. So
I'm curious. I wonder, I don't know that I've ever seen any studies, but I wonder what the general motivations are for service members who enlist or who go to the academies. Like, what is the motivation that drives people to join the military? Because I feel like that motivation's important, right?
Well, why didn't you join?
Us, because my mom is Buddhist. So my grandfather was in the Army, and
everybody's so proud of his Army service.
So proud of his Army service. He was an Army Corps engineer, but he was gone, and he served during the Korean War. I believe he went to Korea twice. I think he enlisted at the tail end of the Vietnam War. And, you know, it really impacted, my mom is one of 4, and it really impacted the family, his absence. And they said that after he came back from Korea, he was no longer the same person. They never got their same father back. He was never the same again. And I only knew him as my grandfather. So, you know, I don't fully understand what that means. He was always wonderful to me. But they said there was this fundamental shift. And, you know, my uncle joined the army to try to, gain favor with his father who had been in the army. But my mom was adamant that we would never join the military. None of her children would join because they're Buddhists and they're pacifists and war is wrong. And, as I've always seen the importance of having a military, and I completely respect the people who serve because they are giving up all of their rights, their life. They're dedicating it to protecting the nation. And just like you said, they don't have a say in where they're sent.
Yeah.
Somebody says, this is important, this will protect our nation, and we need you to do it.
If you like this short clip, make sure you click here to see the next clip or here to see the full podcast episode.